And I brought you in on Wellness Wednesday because, Tanya has talked about this in many, many women who have given birth. This society sets you up to fail.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to be perfect. You have this beautiful baby and you're supposed to be happy and everything's good. And then you pretend. And the more you pretend, the worse it's like being constipated, but on the 10th power, the more it's like insomnia to the 10th power. And then before you know it, you're crashing. Is that what happened?
So basically, the reason I decided to write the book is because I couldn't find any stories that represented my experience as a mother. I can't think of a single book that I've read or show that I've seen where you see a Black mother having postpartum depression, what that looks like, what that feels like, what that sounds like. There's also, like you said, this idea that you have to be this perfect mom and love your baby as soon as it comes out. But that's not reality for so many moms. And you just don't see that. You don't see that represented on television and books, anywhere, commercials. And I feel like within our culture, we don't talk about it. We sweep it under the rug. As women, as Black people, we don't talk about our struggles with mental health. And I felt that it was just time that we just kind of left that thinking to the wayside and represented for ourselves.
Mm. When did you know you might have had this? Because I feel like particularly us, and I imagine our ancestors had to just plow through, literally had to just plow through. We didn't have the opportunity to be depressed, sad, I don't feel well today. We gave birth, slung the baby over our back and kept picking cotton and got up the next day. And I think a lot of us carry that with us. That's epigenetics, right? We carry that with us in the workplace. We swallow a lot. We take in a lot of, microaggressions, macroaggressions, and we push through.
Right.
But our mortality rate is higher. Our disease rate is higher because I feel like we stuff. At what point, Adiba, did you realize there was a problem? And then when did you go get help?
So I knew that there was something going on almost immediately. I just didn't feel a connection to my daughter at all. First of all, let me start by saying they don't tell you when you're delivering a baby as a Black woman that your baby might not be Black. So my child came out white as day, and I was very confused because her dad was not white. And there's no white people in my family. So I'm looking at this child they pulled out, and the first thing I said was, why is she white? Which is probably not the best way to start your relationship with your child. Maybe not the best thing she should hear. And then I immediately turned to her dad and said, I swear to God, I didn't cheat on you, which is probably also not the best thing for your child to hear at seconds old. But they kept telling me that, oh, you have this new baby, you're a mom. And I was just like, well, you say she's mine, but I don't know this person. And they would give her to me to hold, and I would hold her, but it felt very foreign and uncomfortable. And I didn't feel any connection whatsoever. And I would look at her in her bassinet in the hospital, because they have the clear bassinets. But do you want to hold her? I'm like, no, she's fine. She's fine. And I knew that wasn't what was supposed to happen, but it's what was happening. When they took her out of me and, they show her in all the movies, when that happens, the mom is crying all these happy tears and, oh my God, I love my baby. And I was literally in my head saying, please cry, please cry. Oh my God, you have to cry. Like, that's what you do right now, you cry. And I was forcing tears out of my face. And so I knew that wasn't normal, but I didn't know what title to put on that. I just knew that I didn't feel a connection. And then I was officially diagnosed with it when I went for my 2-week checkup with my OBGYN, and they give you a postpartum screening for mental health. And the highest you can score on that is 30, and I scored 25. And my doctor was like, okay, so you definitely, there's something going on here. Do you want to talk to someone? And I said, no. She said, do you want to take some medicine for it? And I said, no. She said, well, this is a really high score. And I said, well, how long is this postpartum depression supposed to last? she's like, it's different for everyone. I said, well, on average, like give me a ballpark here, because in the Black community, we don't do therapy, right? That's not a thing we do. What do? We take it to church, we give it to God. And so I was like, well, what's the average? And she said, it could be 8 weeks, it could be 6 weeks, it could be 6 years. Different for everyone. And I was like, well, I think I'll be all right by 8 weeks. I'm good. I'm going to go. And I really should not have done that. I should have gotten help. I was having just thoughts, horrible thoughts. I wouldn't carry her over hard floors because I was certain that I was going to drop her and she would shatter and there'd be blood everywhere. I didn't want to go outside because I just imagined like dogs attacking the carriage, and like it was awful. It was awful.
Wow. I was as you were talking, I wonder how many mothers, especially in our community, because we come in so many different shades. My brother was very, very light when he came out. My father is darker than everybody in this room. And he's looking at my mother sideways. And she was like, well, if you feed him long enough, he gonna be, it's like she wasn't even trying to hear all of that. I don't care what it looks like. This is your child and you gonna feed him and he'll start looking like you. And he looks just like my father. But as you're talking, though, that connection is something that we expect, right? Mm-hmm. We expect that.
Right.
Before we get into the what you did to come out of it, what's your relationship now with your daughter, Adiba?
Oh, that's my girl. That's my girl. She is my mini me. She's as sassy as the day is long. She is funny. Like, she's my ride or die. I love that kid. And as any kid, like she knows exactly which buttons to push, when to push them, and she does so very happily. But that's my girl.
Now, have you talked to her about this book and this, like, how old is she now?
She'll be 13 in 10 days.
Oh, so you got your hands full too, because she's a Taurus. Yeah. She's gonna wear your ass out. Okay. Yes, she is.
All this weave is just a head full spray.
Yes, that's what. So you're getting all of that. And so have you had this conversation with her about the beginnings and how you now are good?
I jokingly have the conversation with her. We have a very interesting relationship. Like, I keep it very real with her and she keeps it very real back with me. So I'll be like, you know what? I didn't even like you when you were born. So you better be glad I love you now. So it's like we joke about it. And I don't think she liked me either when she was first born, to tell you the truth. We kind of had a mutual disdain for each other. She knows that I've written the book. I don't think she is the least bit interested in it. She really wasn't interested in the book until I showed it to her and showed her the pictures of herself inside the book. And then all of a sudden it was a great book. I did a great job. I got a hand clap. Yay, you, go mom. But up until that point, she was not interested.
All right. And the book is Ain't That a Mother? And the title, I'm imagining, comes from something. How did you arrive at Ain't That a Mother?
It's a twofold. I curse a lot. So there's usually something else after mother, which I say often when things don't go my way. But also that feeling of, I'm a mom and I'm supposed to be doing and being all these different ways, but I'm not. But in all these other ways, I've shown up for my child in ways that I didn't expect to have to. And I think that's what we do as moms, as parents. We show up whether we want to or not. We go through the hard things. We sacrifice. We push and we push and we push to do the best for our children. And that also is like, well, ain't that what moms do? Ain't that what we do? Like, don't we give our all to our kids? But also, can I curse on this show, by the way? When shit goes left, aren't we just like, ain't that a mother? And the rest of that line. And a lot of shit went left in my life after my daughter was born. And so it made sense to call this memoir, this chapters of my life, Ain't That a Mother?
Wow. I just feel so much for you. I wonder, were there no births in your life growing up?
So my cousins, I have a couple of younger cousins. But I was in Arizona when they were born, and I'd been around babies, but I didn't see a baby being born until I was in my mid-20s. And I thought it was the strangest thing, like to actually
Mhm.
see a human come from a human. I just kind of felt like I was watching a scene out of Alien. It was very odd to me. But I love kids. I've loved babies, but it's very different when you have your own.
Yeah.
Very different. So yeah.
Yeah, this is where I feel like our quote civilization, we've lost so much because birth and death used to be in the home. And because I come from a generation of 5 generations living, I witnessed both birth and death in my home.
Oh wow.
And I think it really makes a difference if you don't just grow up with that as just a part of like eating and brushing your teeth and washing. People are born and people die.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Death is something I'm also just not, I don't, I understand it from a logistics standpoint, but from a philosophical standpoint, it does not make sense to me. Like I can't wrap my head around it.
No,
So that,
I see it with young people now when we talk about babies or even talk about, I do women's circles around the world, Russia, Norway, India. And I am astonished that in this day and age, there will be women with children 10 years old and they haven't talked to them about their mens. It's,
mm,
it's something about our civilization. And then I think that there's really a hatred of women and mothers that is being passed on, which would allow this moment in time where we don't have autonomy of our bodies, that there is just not an honoring of the sacred feminine in the world,
right, right.
so that we
Mm.
don't learn it and it isn't appreciated by everyone, because without us, the world doesn't exist.
Fact. Fact. And
The
I don't
sacred
think people think
feminine we have all the power. There is no human species without the sacred feminine.
mhm. And I don't think people think about it in that way. I don't think they think about it in that way.